stepped into the room. God stepped into the room. God stepped into the room. Peace walked in when God stepped in the room. Yeah. Joy broke out when God stepped in the room. Chains fell off when God stepped in the room. Hope showed up when God stepped in the room. What was heavy lost its way. What was bound could not remain. He brought light and made a way. When God stepped in the room, God stepped into the room, and everything changed. God stepped into the room. Nothing stayed the same. Trouble had to move. Fear could not remain. God stepped into the room, and everything changed. Favor came when God stepped in the room. Blessings flowed when God stepped in the room. Doors swung wide when God stepped in the room. Grace ran deep when God stepped in the room. What was dry began to bloom. What was late came right on through. He turned lack into overflow. When God stepped in the room, God stepped into the room, and everything changed. God stepped into the room. Nothing stayed the same. Trouble had to move. Fear could not remain. God stepped into the room, and everything changed. Sickness moved when God stepped in the room. Shadows broke when God stepped in the room. Enemies fled when God stepped in the room. Giants bowed when God stepped in. What tried to fight me lost its crown. What came against me had to bow. Hell backed up, heaven came down. When God stepped in the room, God stepped into the room, and everything changed. Everything changed. God stepped into the room. Nothing stayed the same. Trouble had to move. Trouble had to move. Fear could not remain. Fear could not remain. God stepped into the room, and everything changed. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Worship filled the air. Glory settled here. Demons had to flee. Victory is here. When God steps in, things start moving. When God steps in, yokes start breaking. When God steps in, chains start falling. When God steps in, walls start shaking. God stepped in the room. Trouble moved out. Fear moved out. Sickness moved out. Lack moved out. Favor walked in. Blessing walked in. Joy walked in. Worship filled the air. God stepped into the room, and everything changed. When everything changed, God stepped into the room. Nothing stayed the same. God stepped into the room. God stepped into the room. God stepped in. God stepped in. God stepped in the room. Blessing came. Favor came. Healing came in the room. Trouble moved. Fear moved. Darkness moved out the room. God stepped into the room. And when He steps in, you know it, you feel it. God stepped into the room. Oh, and when He steps in, you know it, you feel it. Everything changed.